ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Palvia, Dr. Shannon Palvia, who is Professor of MIS at Long Island University. And though you may have seen some introduction about him, but let me share with you that he was Director of MIS at LIU during 1997 to 2004. And he has received his PhD in MBA from University of Minnesota and his BS in Chemical Engineering from IIT New Delhi. That was much before I was born.
Not much before, only 3 years before. I told your age to everybody.
You have not told when you graduated. So one variable is still missing, but I think that they will be able to find out easily. He has more than 150 articles in refereed journals, and that include Mission Science, Communication of the ACM, MIS Quarterly, Information Management, Communication PS, and so on and so forth. All very good journals. And he is also editor of Journal of IT Case and Applications Research, JITCA. During 2002 to 2013, he has chaired 13 annual international smart sourcing conferences. And he has been invited as speaker to Germany, of course India, Italy, Singapore, Thailand, Russia, and so on. He has co-edited 4 books of global IT management and 1 on global sourcing management. And at present, he is with us in India as a Fulbright Nehru Senior Scholar affiliated with IIM Ahmedabad. And therefore, once again, welcome to Dr. Palvia. And this was his formal introduction. I have been working with him for the last 1 month or so. He may look old, but he is very young, I am telling you. Sometimes very childish not good word, childlike, which you will enjoy working with him. And you will learn a lot from him. And one good thing about him is that he has the quality of asking right questions, which leads you to right answers. So over to Dr. Palvia for his views on impactful research.
Thank you. I am already very happy to see so many people here come here. And I'm really nervous whether I can deliver what so many people are expecting me to deliver as take-home value. One thing I wanted to correct, I have got refereed articles published in journals and conference proceedings and book chapters. All of them add up to 150 plus. Okay, so I want to be correct the thing. You know, it's not journals. All of them are not journals. About 40 are in journals. Okay, I can clearly see why there would be an interest in this topic. The first thing about any research is that you have to have a passion for the research topic you choose. And there should be a story behind it, why you chose a particular topic, not just because your supervisor told you or just because it was published in a top tier journal, so let me grab onto that even though I don't like the topic, things are esoteric in that research field. Let me do that. Don't do that. So you have to have a passion for the topic you choose. So why did I choose this topic? This is not I'm not sure whether I'll be able to publish what I'm going to present here today in a journal or I've already presented in a conference proceedings, in a conference, it was held in Nasik. The reason it happened was there is a listserv for MIS researchers. A lot of my ideas will be coming from the field of MIS, information systems, same as Professor Sanjay Verma. So we have another faculty member here, Kathan. Kathan is here, okay. So he hasn't gone for interviewing, just like, okay. So how did I grab onto this topic? On that listserv consisting of 2,600 MIS faculty members from all over the world, an argument started. Are we doing really good research? Is it helping anybody except we are self-serving each other? And it went on and on for 2 months, 3 months, and people talked about rigor versus relevance, basic research versus practical research, longitudinal research versus cross-sectional research. All kinds of things were coming across. This led me to think, I think this is a nice area to probe into and find out are we really doing research which is impactful? By the way, you might find a spelling mistake on the word impactful, but we can always invent new words, and English dictionary is very open-minded, so they will accept this word. I think it will be accepted by next year. Come on, welcome you, Aishi. Okay. If you don't want to be on the back side, you can take this chair. Come here. There are chairs here. So that was what drove me into this research area. So I was a panelist in the ISDSI conference in Nasik, and here I am trying the same topic again. Let me ask a question, and I want to make it interactive because I want to learn as much as you want to learn. Why do we do research, and why do we want to publish in journals or conference proceedings? I'm looking for answers. Why do we do it?
So it is essential for the selection as a good institutions.
Essential for getting a job. Not because you really want to do research in that area, but we can. Okay. So important to get a job. Another something else? Huh?
Completion of PhD.
Completion of PhD.
So, sometimes what happens is, as we're reading more, we find some questions that are interesting but not yet answered in external education. So, we start off with that and then we got from there. And a good way to test out the area of the work that we're doing is to put it in a conference or
So you want to move in an evolutionary way, try out your ideas and thesis ideas in a conference, get them polished, get based on the feedback from the audience, and then improve. Okay. Anybody else? Professors, what do professors say? Why do you want to publish in a journal?
Requirement of job. Pardon? Requirement of job.
Job security.
Requirement.
Requirement, okay. Job requirement. So does everybody like to publish? Does everybody want to do research when you become a professor? Or some people like to do teaching only, some people like to do consulting only. But still, the system requires you to publish certain minimum number of articles either in a journal or in a conference proceedings. And then once you get your tenure, why do you care about research? You got a total job security.
So basically, you hope that your contribution is valuable to the broader entire field. So how do you communicate your work to other researchers?
Okay, so publishing is a way to communicate to other researchers. So the people you write for are other researchers. Are the people you write for also these FPM people, PhD students, right? I think the only people who read your work thoroughly are the PhD students. True? True or not? Not we the researchers. We just look at the abstract quickly and it looks reasonable. We cite it as a citation, as a reference, even though we have not read it. True or not? Okay. We don't read it in depth. So only the PhD students read thoroughly. So yes, your answers were excellent. Let's see. So the one thing I forgot, if Sharad and Ayushi can help me write down some extra notes so that we can improve the slides. So getting a job is the first thing. How you'll get reappointed if you don't get a job? So that was an excellent point. So getting a job is the reason we want to publish in a conference proceeding or in a journal. Some people publish in journal before even they finish their PhD and they are assured a job then. They're pretty sure, right? That's how the system works. That's how the system works. So once you get tenure and promotion, then you probably do it for prestige, right? Recognition. So-and-so published, he got 2,000 citations. Wow, what a great researcher he or she is. So these are the reasons we publish, okay? Now, who is the audience? I asked that question, and the audience is, we know that PhD students, other researchers. Who else is the audience? That's it, right? So audience is PhD students and other researchers in your specific field. who understand the lingo. The lingo might be very, very specific. Some words might be totally unintelligible to the rest of the world, but you use them anyways to impress the hell out of everybody, right? Okay. We call it esoteric research. Okay. I call it. I don't know. Some people might take exception to my using those strong words, because some researchers use some high and they construct new words also, and they get by it. Some MIS researchers recently have capitalized on the word called constructivism, something like that. It's nothing. It's old wine in a new bottle, something like that. They keep reinventing. So let's go to the next slide. Do we ever think about industry practitioners? We might help them by writing something useful for industry. Nobody mentioned that, right? Do we ever think our government officials who are constantly struggling with age-old procedures and age-old methods and departments and ways of doing things, they can get help from our research? Do we ever think about that? We don't. Generally, we don't. Some people do. Do we think about all these philanthropic organizations that we have? We might be able to help them with our research. Do we think about that? We should think about that. Do we try to help our politicians who are really in a lot of need, right, to learn new things and new ways of doing things? I wouldn't say about current politicians. They're pretty good. They're elite, some of them, including Narendra Modi. But politicians need help too from our research. So these are all the possible audience that we should be thinking about, not just PhD students and other researchers. That's the first thing we have to think. Now, anybody has any comment, please do it right away.
But for that, I think the writing has to evolve, because it is in a research format right now. It does not go very quickly in industry format. So another set of writing has to evolve, another set of journals has to evolve, which can be less tedious to read, so that the crux can come out there.
Excellent
Are
point.
we thinking of those journals and those kind of writing styles? That is completely absent in being in government for the last 23 years and now have come to research area. I find this is the gap. This is an existing gap.
So what you're saying, there's a lack of journals who are oriented towards government officials.
And not government official per se, but a style of writing which is slightly different from the academic writing, which tells you these are the findings and these are the ways.
Okay, make the writing.
Because those people are not trained that way to decipher out of the entire big baggage which
Perfect point. You're making an excellent point.
Can I comment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel that here we are taking the idea of research being synonymous with publications. Right? Is that the idea that we are taking in this presentation? Because there are a lot of research that goes legislative research for parliamentarians and NGOs, but that might not necessarily get published in the form of a journal or an article. But there is a lot of research that does go like in discussions.
Unpublished research, you're saying?
Yeah, but so that's why I had the last thing had if the context is in terms of publications, then probably not.
I think today the scope of the presentation is what academicians publish. Okay, but you're making an excellent point. For example, consultants like Gartner, Anderson Consulting, all those people do a lot of research, and they sell it for a price to industries and everybody. So what we are focusing on, whether we, the researchers in academia, do useful, impactful research or not. If we are not, shouldn't we change our systems and our processes so that we are impactful to more people than just a handful of researchers and PhD students? Good point, good point. Okay. Next question is, how do we measure the impact? Any rules of thumb that we use? Okay, this guy's research is more important because he or she has done this, or he or she has this. How do we measure currently the impact of research?
In which journal it is published?
In which journal is it published? Okay, so the perceived brand image of a journal is becoming very important. So it's like what we used to call in the past old boys network. They run some top 3-4 journals, and everybody keeps publishing in those top 3-4 journals, and those top 3-4 journals always remain on the top to the exclusion of several other real good journals. And the reason I'm saying is I'm experienced. As Dr. Verma, Professor Verma told, I've been editor of this journal for the last 19 years with a gap of 6 years. I'll pass it around as information about Journal of IT Case and Application Research. And just since I've mentioned this, the reason for starting this journal in 1999 was to make publications more relevant than rigorous. Okay. The focus was on relevance, so it makes sense for the professors who teach, who are focusing on teaching, for professors who are consulting, for professors who are for industry people, industry practitioners, for government officials. They can also have some take-home value and use it in practice. That was the reason. And some of you might have heard about a new journal that came out, MISQE. MISQE is designed around the same idea that I came up with 19 years back. Their articles are similar to the articles published in the Journal of IT Case and Application Research. So we measure impact by the so-called brand image of a journal. What else? I want it to be interactive, otherwise the whole thing will be finished in 10 minutes and there will be no fun. Yeah. Yes?
Maybe how it is acknowledged by the global say the ability of return to AGI index, even the global index, maybe
all the indexes, the impact factor, the number of citations, all those things. Okay, so yeah, we are on the right track. Let's move on to the next slide. There are all kinds of journals. I went on the internet and looked for citations of journals, some keywords I typed, and there is a website called citefactor.org. And I found they have 16,999 journals listed with impact factor for each. And some of the journals that I know were missing there, were not even on the list. So the world has so many journals. And God alone knows how many of us read which ones, when, how, or we just open and close the journal right away. So there's too much material being published and hardly anything being read. So this is roughly the sequence, the ranking, you can say ranking in terms of the quality of the article you published in. If you are published, if it's a working paper, IIM working paper, okay, who cares? Book chapter, okay. A book chapter is a little bit reviewed by some people, so it's okay. Conference proceedings, it is also reviewed, double-blind reviewed sometimes, and so on. Education, yes.
research is published in paper.
Pardon?
Newspaper. If research is published in newspaper, how are you valued?
Okay. If research is published in newspapers, I find some of the best editorials in newspapers, better than some of our research articles, but they are not valued. Because the system is like that. We have to change the system. Why it is not valued? Because they are not reviewed. And we give too much importance to reviewed and single blind reviewed or double blind reviewed. Double blind reviewed is considered the topmost. Double blind reviewed journal. Everybody understand double blind. What is double blind? That doesn't mean there were two eyes are blind. Doesn't mean that. Okay. So practitioner journals are valued less. Educational journals are even valued less. I don't understand that. Educational journal, we are in academia and educational journal, any articles that help in improving the quality of education one way or the other should be valued very highly. But those kinds of outlets are considered lower than the typical research journals. I don't understand that. I just don't get it. Okay. So we have to work on that and improve the system, improve the situation. Okay, let's move to the next slide.
Sir,
Yeah, go ahead.
so somewhere the qualities of publication comes into picture.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
and that is why these things have been categorized like tier 1, tier 2, तो conference यहाँ पे. It's more like the amount of funding these journals get from different sources and the kind of people involved in, and that is why this hierarchy is there, otherwise it should not be.
I agree. And who can change the hierarchy? We the people, we the researchers, right? That's why I'm making this presentation. I think this is very critical for the whole educational system worldwide, not just India, not just USA. It's very important because we are focusing on the wrong things. We are determining impact by this esoteric indexes and number of citations. Number of citations, I can tell Professor Verma and I can tell, we can make a league. We said, okay, whatever I publish, you are going to cite. Whatever you publish, I'm going to cite, and we make a group of 100 people. We make a group of 100 people. So we'll have 100 citations of our articles. Whether they are connection or no, we can make a group, you know. So a number of citations is very high. That means it's a highly respectable article. Doesn't mean that. Let's continue with the next one. How many of you heard the term impact factor? Okay, impact factor is becoming the new metric, important metric to measure the quality of a journal. I don't think there is an impact factor for an article. For an article, you just look at the number of citations of an article. So this is how impact factor is defined. So if you did not know, now you know, right? This is how it is defined. So if an impact factor of a journal is 3, it means, what does it mean? That there were, in the last 2 years, its articles received on an average 3 citations. Last 2 years. So it's cumulative for last 2 years. And I mentioned this point just now. Let me use this. Mutual Admiration Club. That's what we just created between Kathan and Dr. Verma. Okay. And it really happens. It really happens. Okay. And then who are the senior scholars in MIS group? The same people who are associate editors or senior associate editors of the top journal. So they perpetuate the situation, oh, these are the top 8 journals, and this list goes to all the deans, and deans say these are top journals. So if somebody doesn't publish in those top 8 journals, he or she is no good. So when this debate was going on AIS World Listserv, one of the guys, it was a very heated debate going on AIS World. What did he say? There are over 500 MIS journals, and I know that great, influential, and well-cited papers come from journals other than the basket of 8. So there's a lot of resentment among researchers about this basket of 8. So these are the impact factors I found out. So what is your area of research? Education psychology. So do you know the impact factor of your top journal? What is it?
So it's around 3 to 7.
Okay, so MISQ beats yours, right? Your topmost. Okay. Ours is 5.384 MISQ. And as a matter of history, I graduated from the same place where MISQ originated in 1976, 1977. And I published one article in MISQ a long time back. From University of Minnesota. University of Minnesota started this journal, and by the way, University of Minnesota is the pioneer or founder of the MIS discipline, along with MIT. So people cite MIT and University of Minnesota as the universities who started the discipline of MIS. So these are the impact factors. And you can see for yourself, some of them are not rated as high as they should be. Management science. Decision sciences I could not even find on that website. Decision sciences is a top journal. Now how do you find out about a particular scholar? How is he or she doing in the world of research? This is what I found for myself on the Google Scholar. So there is an H index and there is an I-10 index. And this is the best source at this point if you are trying to recruit somebody or trying to reappoint somebody or trying to tenure somebody and you want to go by the traditional metrics, go to Google Scholar and you'll find out. But there is a little problem. Some of the research outlets are not searched by Google Scholar also. So they also miss out on certain publications. But overall, they are the best probably. Okay. H index is fascinating. It says largest number H such that H number of publications have H or more citations. So my 19 publications have each one of them 19 or more citations. That's what it means. 19, only 19. Now, here are some metrics that a lot of us don't know about or don't care about. Now, there is a new website, my ResearchGate, and there they are telling me that in the last 1.5 years, I had 1,772 reads of my articles. Last week there were 28 reads. But there is a caveat here. The caveat is they are asking you to upload your research articles, even if they are copyrighted by the journals in which they are published. So I am nervous or I am skeptical whether I should be uploading or not. So I have requests for at least 50 articles of mine. Can you please upload? Can you please upload? Should I be doing it or not? It is unethical, isn't it? What do you think? So if I upload more, then I'll get more reads. Not only more reads, I'll get more citations. Because if they're getting free article, they like it, they'll cite it, right? So I don't know how many people have thought about that. That's an issue, isn't it?
You can share for research purpose, you can share personal copies. That's what I
No, if you upload it on that
website. And also through the website, you can share it in private.
You can do that too?
Yes,
ResearchGate?
you don't have to upload.
Huh? Even in email also you can share it.
It's your
Otherwise,
choice.
In private also you can share.
No, so ResearchGate, there's the person who's asking, you can share it directly with him or her.
Yes.
You don't have to upload.
Yes.
Even if you upload, you don't have to put it publicly.
Okay. Not public domain, okay. Only for that person.
Correct.
So I should do that, right? That will increase my citations. I'll become more famous. Thank you. Okay. Downloads. Now, a lot of journals are becoming online journals, digital. So people don't subscribe to the entire journal issue itself. Whatever article they like to download it, either for free or for a price. So a lot of academic institutions are subscribing to services. So IMA is subscribing to a lot of these services, ABI Inform and all kinds of services, so that all the scholars can download whatever articles available on those services. So on the next slide, I will show you how many downloads are there from recent publications in my journal. I got that statistics from the publisher. Now, another thing people don't think about the impact of your research is how much research do you bring back to your classroom, to your undergraduate classes, to graduate classes, executive seminar. Those are important measures, and nobody even thinks about that. So when the dean or the tenure committee or the promotion committee is thinking about looking at your candidature, they should look at all these things. How much of your research you are able to bring into teaching. And that you can see from student surveys or student opinion surveys where they will say, oh, professor is using his research to teach us and just really helping us. I do that a lot of times. Executive seminars. Professor Verma organized an ERP seminar in the second week of January. I was totally new here, And 3 days before the seminar was to end, he told me, would you like to do a little session? I thought, and I heard him speak in the classroom, and he's prolific and very energetic. I said, I can never match up to him. So should I risk myself? So I risked myself. On the third day, I selected something from my past research, and I did a 1-hour session. So I was, and the participants really liked it. So it was good. So my research that I had done had industry impact. It had industry impact in that sense. They appreciated. They said, yes, we can relate to what you're saying. We did this for this project. We did this for this project. We thought along the same lines. So that helps. So here is what I was referring to. So there were 73 downloads from the publishers' websites for volume 17, number 1. And there is a paper even authored by me when I was not the editor at that time. E-government and fight against corruption, conceptual model, and 5 case studies from India. And I was happy to see there are 45 downloads of that article. Unfortunately, we did not download it for our project. We forgot. Okay.
You don't believe in self. You didn't do it.
I thought my team people will find out. Okay, now here are some more ways to determine, and actually we should develop a quantitative model to factor in all these things to measure the overall impact of a research article, of a journal. Were you interviewed by media on what you did? Like some of the research people do, they are interviewed. For example, the guy Thomas Friedman came to India and said, the world is a level playing field now, and he wrote a book, and he was interviewed in hundreds of TV interviews. He had hundreds of TV interviews. Similarly, there are, whenever somebody writes on a hot topic like sexual harassment in an educational institution, I know one of my colleagues wrote something on that. She was immediately interviewed on New York TV station, and that made news. Should it be counted? Yes, it should be counted because it had immediate impact in the media. So should you be promoting your research in the media? Why not? Otherwise, how would they know that it could be potentially useful for the audience of the media? Newspaper, somebody mentioned newspaper. If you've done a good research, you can summarize it and write it as a piece, and you can write down extract from this research. Why not? So that should be counted as an additional impact on society at large, right? Are you invited to make keynote presentations on certain research you've done? That should count as an overall impact of your research. You made some keynote presentations, right? And I have been invited in India a couple of places. So my dean should take note of that, right? Is there a buzz in the social media about your research? For example, I don't know how many people have heard about Nicholas Carr from Harvard. He wrote an article saying, IT doesn't matter. Information technology doesn't matter. Such a provocative title, and it caught the attention of all kinds of social media and everywhere. He was everywhere. It made viral, right? That's the term we use. It became viral, his topic. Then lately he wrote, and a lot of times I think the same way, is Google making us stupid? Okay. Is it? Nobody will say that, right? Because we all use Google, and if we say that means we are all stupid, no way. No. What it means is, in the context of our research on online education, that we don't have to emphasize anymore the two lower levels of taxonomy of learning. Bloom's taxonomy of learning, where you just learn a lot of facts and synthesize them a little bit. Google is doing it for us.
Children are not able to solve numerical, they will see solution of that same way.
I will go one step further. On WhatsApp, My members on WhatsApp are sending me some tough puzzles, very tough puzzles. And I'm working and I'm working and I'm working and working. And one day I typed on Google the puzzle, the answer was there. I say a lot of these people who are answering before me must be cheating, right? They get the answer from Google and give it the answer, right? So social media is another. All these things have to be considered now. We can't live in an old age where only number of citations is the impact factor. We are making impact in so many different ways. Blogs by all kinds of people. So a lot of these small companies, I think one article that we published in JITCAR is some small companies can make a buzz by having some people write blogs and include a reference to their companies. So if some keyword is typed, the blogs will show up and you read the blogs and people will know. So if your research is being cited by some individuals or some media people or some well-known people, or Narendra Modi is mentioning in his Twitter, or heaven's sake, Donald Trump is mentioning in his Twitter, okay, that is impactful, right? Or opposite of impactful, whatever. ResearchGate we just talked about. Anything else? Anything else I missed out as an area where we might be making an impact and it is not showing up?
When you do field research or if you do participant observation, you end up making an impact on the lives of the people that you observe or the people that you live with.
Positively or negatively?
I don't know, it depends on the kind of impact you want to have. But a lot of times you see these, especially in qualitative research, where you have to interact a lot with your informers and any kind of ethnographic research you see any book.
You mean focus groups?
I mean, even ethnographies or focus groups, you end up having some kind of impact.
Okay.
So that may not be necessarily in a documented form, or you may not want to publish it, but the impact is still there. It's more of a social impact.
Yeah, that way we have impact, for example, am I having an impact? Talking about impactful research. So there are a lot of informal interactions in which you have an impact. So I think in our vita that we write, academic vita, we do write down presentations. I made a presentation here, I made a presentation here, and all those should be counted. So if I did a research, so I did as a part of your research project, you did some observation, right, ethnographic. So that should be mentioned somewhere in your profile when you are evaluated by somebody. That's important, I think. Yeah. And if your participants are giving some feedback, that could be saved too. Okay, so this is the guy who started the debate on the listserv that I mentioned. So the kinds of things that were discussed in a very argumentative manner and going back and forth and angry people and trying to cut the other person's idea and went on for several times. I was essentially an observer. I interjected a couple of times my comments, but mostly I was trying to understand what is going on, and I got this out of it. Nobody else has grabbed onto this idea of trying to work on what is impactful research. Maybe times have changed and we have to redefine what is impactful research. So these were the things that were discussed, and I think as research scholars, you pretty much know what are the differences. Okay. So in the information technology field, a lot of this computer science type of research we call as technical research. A lot of MIS kind of research we call behavioral research. And a lot of some of these journals like ISR, information systems, they focus on rigor, a lot of math, a lot of statistical checking, a small amount of data, but a lot of analysis. And other outlets like Harvard Business Review, Sloan Management Review, Journal of IT Case and Application Research, my journal, MISQ are focusing on relevance, rigor versus relevance, breadth versus depth. So surveys and instruments, they essentially cover the breadth. they don't go into depth. So longitudinal studies go into depth. They analyze a particular phenomena or particular process over a long period of time, and that is called in-depth research, and so on. Oh, one topic that came up was, does it matter what language we use in our research articles? If we use very esoteric language, nobody can understand. Somebody raised that question. Because a lot of research is done in the medical field, and do the patients have to know what kind of language is used in the research? If they use cardiovascular versus you use heart. See, a lot of these medical terms are so turn off, immediately turn off, they turn you off. They wouldn't call your finger, they will have a long term for finger or something, very long term. And you never understand what is it. And some people said, well, you should not treat patients like that, no more in this age. Patients want to know what is the research saying, and you have to be able to say it in simple language, which they can understand. And how can you say the industry people do not want to learn about the conclusions of your research in their language? Why should they learn about this in some esoteric language? So the language must be refined. It should not be tough to understand. Sometimes I've been reviewing and editing the journal for a long time. People write long sentences, almost a paragraph long. And the meaning from that entire paragraph can be extracted in one sentence. So the trick in writing a good paper, which will make your reviewers very happy, is to write each and every word in each and every sentence which is meaningful. No word should be irrelevant. I learned this art over time, and that can turn off your reviewers. Another thing, there should be a seamless flow of contents, logically, from one paragraph to next paragraph, from one sentence to next sentence, so that you enjoy your reading. Why should you get bored reading your own article? Isn't it? That's pathetic, isn't it? If you don't enjoy reading your own article, it should flow so well that you enjoy it. Oh, what I wrote, oh my gosh. Very well-known professor of MIS, Gordon Davis, you heard about him? He was the first person well-known around the world. He went to Singapore and everywhere. He is still there. So he just made a change of address in Minneapolis. He wrote an email to me. I wrote back to him. He must be 90 years old, I'm pretty sure. So he used to say, just as we think of beauty is a joy forever, a good research writing is a joy forever. That's the way you should write your research article. Okay. Now, a lot of times I see this at least in information technology field. I don't know about educational psychology field. What is driving research? The practice is driving research, or research is driving practice? At least in IT field, I see that the practice is driving research. They are on the forefront. We are on just laggards, following and just commenting, analyzing on what they are doing. Very few ideas we give to innovators and practitioners from our research which they can apply. I found yesterday only I found out from this AIS website that they categorize impact into 7 terms: affective impact, behavioral impact, cognitive impact, economic impact, organizational impact, political impact, strategic impact. So economic is really covering government and society, right? Organizational is companies in an industry or companies in any industry sector, educational sector also. Political, government, and society to some extent. Strategic, thinking long term, anywhere, whether it is industry or company. So I'm trying to give some credence to what I'm going to show now, some credibility to what I think should be the way of thinking about impactful research. And that's, I think, is my little contribution. So that's the next slide. You can all comment on this. Right now, in terms of impact, we focus only on the first row, and that too in the first cell. We hardly think about industry or government or society. In what sense is what I am writing contributing to industry practitioners? In what sense am I writing can government officials at different levels practice those things and improve their way of doing things? And does it impact entire society? So, if your article is here and that's it, that's where it ends, then I'll give you a score of 1. This is an extremely simple framework that I've developed right now, and anybody who's interested in working on this idea and coming up with a good model to measure the overall impact, you're welcome to join as a collaborator. And I put a 2 here. If it's a long-term impact, then 2. So I'll show you some of the articles which have long-term impact. Unfortunately, I cannot cite from other disciplines, but for in our discipline, E.F. Codd, his contribution, E.F. Codd and Peter Chen's contribution in data modeling, entity relationship models. They have affected academia, they have affected industry, they have affected government, they have affected the society, and for a long time. So their contribution is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 8. It's an extremely simple model. I don't know whether we should say 2 or 3, but extremely simple. It's a long-term impact at all the levels. So and the way I'm assuming is that if you are here, that means academia is already included. If you are here, then these 2 are already included, but you can count it in different ways. Okay. Any comments on this? We can improve this little framework. Am I missing out something, or am I confused? Is it making some sense? So I think we should make presentations of this way of measuring impact of our research to all the deans. I'm thinking that if we develop it a little more, we can also present it to ASCSB and other accreditation bodies so that they can think differently also. So here is a research, I think Sharad and Ayushi probably can relate to this, technology acceptance model. Citations are 33,139. But how do I see it? Academia, yes, long-term impact. Industry, short-term impact. Government, short-term impact. So the total score is 4. This is just my subjective assessment at this time. Subjective plus experiential. This one I give 8. That's the one I just mentioned. Same thing. Peter Chen, I think, who did first? I think E.F. Codd did it first, and then he developed further on that, Peter Chen. This is the same technology acceptance model. Look at the number of citations, 10,181. Wow. How many of you heard about a contribution by Jack Rockert on critical success factors? You heard about that?
A case based on this, I must have bought 150 times and would have made 150 into 20,000 rupees so far by teaching this concept.
And think about it, the concept is so simple. Please evaluate the factors that are critical to your success. Critical to success in your marriage, critical to success in your MBA program, critical to success in your FPA program. Such a simple concept, and he made a fortune out of it.
There is a case called, which I teach, I am not teaching football D design of MIS. That's the most selling IMA case. The authors have never taught the case. I have taught it. as number mentioned, I teach it.
So you believe in this great contribution, critical success factor?
Yeah, it's such a simple, as you said, very simple, very powerful, and but very so concept is very easy, but how to reach there is very difficult. That's what I think is my.
The process of defining your critical success factors.
Because it's not very intuitive. It doesn't. You feel everything is important. Therefore, to distinguish between what is important and what is not, that's where I made my money. And so therefore, good that they had a paper and I could.
Wonderful. Okay. So it's tough for people or groups of people or organizations to figure out what is critical to their success. And there's a process involved here which you can use to identify those critical success factors. I see some IT doesn't matter. I already mentioned that. There's another one, first things first, prioritizing requirements. Ayushi mentioned that this is a good article. I've given it 3, but I haven't read it fully. But you will give it a higher score?
Also related to critical success factor in such journals and engagement.
Another critical success factors one. What theory is not theorizing is. Yeah, here I am giving it a 6, even though the citations are only 131. So number of citations cannot determine. This is an article which can influence the minds of people in all sectors of our economy about the importance of environment, green IS. And that's critical, isn't it? Academia might be one, but its impact on industry and government and society is much more. And people write in those fields. So you cannot just go by citations. 970 only, I gave it 8. 970, I gave it 4, 3, 3. Is there one article by me? Yes. See, I did not show any bias. 3. Impact is 3. But it has been cited well, 201 citations. Essentially, a lot of people are using e-government and e-governance interchangeably and they're confused. So we try to clarify once for all what is e-government and what is e-governance. So that I think was a contribution. If people know when to use e-government term and when to use e-governance term. So one thing out of this research should be that at the end of your article, now onwards I am going to look for that. Implications for academia, implications for industry, implications for government, implications for society. What has your research work contributed to those 4 segments? Rather than just saying implications for researchers and practitioners. That's too broad brush. That's would be my work on recommendation to AACs and other accreditation bodies. And anybody wants to collaborate, please raise your hand. Or you can write to me, spalvi@liu.edu. If you're interested, I will be here at IIMA till the end of April. So anybody is interested in working further on refining this approach of how to measure impact of research. Now what I'm going to do is, how many of you really tired and a little bit restless and want to leave? Nobody will say that, right? This was very, very provocative question, right? So what I'm going to do is the next 7 to 10 minutes will be very easy. My first part of presentation is over. Second is I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journal, which I've been editing for the last 19 years with a gap of 6 years. And if a journal survives for more than 5 years, then it's a good journal. Survives for 10 years, then it is very good journal, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to tell you a little bit history, evolution, and I'll give you some ideas how you can improve whatever you write for publication in a journal. Remember, the title of my presentation is How to Publish High Quality Article in a Journal. A lot of people will put the title as how to publish in a high quality journal. I changed it because I really resent that, because high quality journals, who defined them? High quality journals, doesn't make sense. So it will be quick. 7 minutes I'll finish. So I'll tell you, I got a lot of advisory editors. You can see these people from all over the world. Some words, some names you might have heard already. Then these are global associate editors. Then we have industry editors. See? So this article, this journal definitely thinks of its audience as industry people also. So industry editors, what do? They actually interview top CEOs and CFOs and CIOs in organizations, government organizations, industry organizations, and ask them real good questions. So the expert opinion report, we call them, they are really very, very useful for practitioners. Then book reviews, the current books, 2 to 3 years old books, we review them and reviews are published. They are good for teachers, professors. These are all the worldwide reviewers of the journal. Anybody interested in being a reviewer for this journal, more than welcome. You can become a reviewer. This journal is being published by Routledge, Taylor and Francis. This publisher was established in 1796. Okay. It might sound like a commercial of my journal, but I thought it is relevant in the sense that how a journal starts and how a journal sustains itself. So it's focusing on case research methodology, longitudinal research, in-depth research, not broad brush research. Scope, coverage. I don't know whether it's time to brag, but quick bragging, this was the first journal which did almost everything electronic. It beats all the journals in the world. We did everything electronic except publishing the final journal that was in text form. The entire process was electronic. So all the submissions were done by email as attached file. All the reviews were done electronically by using some kind of a jugaad kind of editing, not change tracking that we have in Microsoft Word. Now, there was no change tracking at that time. So we say, if you want to add something, reviewers, write it in blue color. If you want to delete something, put it in red color, make that font as red. And the strike through was also there, so use the strike through. So we use those innovative ideas, so everything was electronic. So unfortunately, it's not included in Guinness Book of Records as the first journal to do everything electronic. Now, editorial preface articles. Another thing that we have, Professor Verma and we have just co-authored an editorial preface article for the upcoming issue of JITCA. It's on online education, right? So this is on the current relevant hot topics of the times. So one of the hot topics is online education. What is going to happen in the future? So we've written about 10-page article which will be published in the editorial. This is the article which is invited article. This is the only article in the beginning of which is a provocative article to provoke ideas and talk on the hot topic of the day. So these are several topics which have been published. More ideas. Teaching case articles. Another novel thing about this is we just don't publish only research case articles, but we also publish teaching case articles. So articles that can be used for teaching in the classroom. It's similar to Harvard Business Cases with the difference. Difference is we also publish the research note which has the research flavor for that article. So it should not be just strictly teaching. What is the research flavor that goes so that professors can use it for teaching in classroom? Teaching case articles, so many of them. Any particular title catches your attention, you can go to the JITKAR website and find out. Special issues. So somebody can do a special issue. For example, in 2016, there was a special issue on big data analytics, which is a very, very hot topic. Interviews of experts, as I mentioned. You heard about founding editor of Wired. That was hot topic at that time. I interviewed the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh in 1999, Chandrababu Naidu. That was published. The way he was using IT to improve Andhra Pradesh government, he was crazy. He was on the forefront of using information technology. We have time till 5:15, so I'm looking at the time. I would not go beyond the time. And we'll leave some time for more questions at the end. Book reviews. Okay, I told you about book reviews. Okay, this might be interesting if you want to make anybody want to ask any questions. This is a typical organization of an article that you want to send to any journal. You must clearly state why you're doing this research. What is driving you to do this? What are your research objectives? What are your research goals? So well-articulated research questions, any theory that can help you understand what you're trying to explore or explain. And one thing that is missing here, what is missing here? Implications for, wow, that's a take-home value for this seminar. Everybody should remember that. I just said implications, I should say all the four now. Any more questions? We are done. Too simple, whatever I say, too simple. What's the big deal? No questions. No question. Any more questions? Comments? Concerns? No? Then the last slide is, I do have a slide? Thanks.